Hi viewers, welcome to Wonder Women Talk Show, a show where we celebrate women who are impacting and inspiring our Namibian women. Here we celebrate women who are not only thriving but striving in their purposes. My name is Flor, and today with me I have our guest, Suama Tobias.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me, Flor.
Suama, we know that you are a lawyer by profession and you are a certified life coach. And we recently found out that you do art as well.
Yeah.
Who exactly is Suama?
Well, I am just a young girl from Oshakati, born and bred. I came to Windhoek to study law. So I studied law for about, 5 years. And during my law studies, I was involved in a lot of things while a student, in a lot of things that sort of drove me towards different things that I could do as well, including arts. So I sketch, I paint, I do art stuff. And when I was a student, I was a student leader, and that sort of drove me towards being a life coach somehow. So in a nutshell, that's who I am.
Mm. You are happily a newlywed.
Yay!
And you still do a lot of things on top of your wifey duties.
Duties.
Yes. How do you do it?
Being a wife is not something I view as doing something. So that's off the list of professions, because being a wife is just something I am because I'm married. But I managed to do a lot of stuff, definitely because I've got a very supportive husband, and I strive to constantly be in a very good place mentally, and I take care of myself, and that's how I'm able to do all of these things that I want to do and I enjoy doing, and things that I also have to do, even if I don't necessarily enjoy them.
As we say that you are a lawyer by profession,
Yeah.
we all know that you can make very good money in law. But you went and pursue another career, which is a life coach, or you got a diploma in life coach. What led you to that career, or what led you to make such move as well?
When I was in high school, I primarily wanted to study psychology and be a psychologist, but obviously I was persuaded not to, because apparently Namibians don't really want psychologists, and I'm going to end up on the streets without a job. And I was a very good debater in school, so my favorite teacher, my guardians, they advised me to pursue a legal qualification. I did that, and I enjoyed it to a certain extent, but it's not something I'm very passionate about. And mind you, I didn't completely abandon my profession, because like you said, there is good money to be made there, so that sort of pays the bills. But I also just do life coaching on the side, which is my main thing. So I identify myself as Suama the life coach instead of Suama the lawyer.
So why would you do law at first? Why would you even register law at UNAM if you know very well that's not where your passion lies?
Let's just say I was 16 years old when I registered for law. I don't think I was very aware of myself and what I would rather be doing for the rest of my life. And like I said, it was persuasion from adults in our lives. They know what's best for you. They give you the best advice according to them, and that's why I did it. And I don't regret it. I think I probably would still do it. But let's just say when I was 16 years old, I didn't have that full personal awareness to know this is the direction that I should rather take.
Okay, so even when you studied law and you got your degree, when exactly did you realize that I need to go do my life coaching diploma? When did you make the decision that, you know what, I need to go do what my passion, what I have passion for? When did you decide to go do that diploma, and what really moved you? What really triggered you to go pursue your diploma?
The short answer of that is God did it. He pushed me in that direction. But like I said in my self-introduction, when I was a student, I was a student leader in the student council, and I was also involved in my local church, where I was a leader to a bit of a youth group where we used to meet every week. And I noticed that people would gravitate to me for advice, and I also realized that I have a gift of understanding people and relating with them, and also just advising them. I have a way of making people feel good about themselves as well. So I did a bit of research. It wasn't just like I woke up one day and the Holy Spirit said, girl, go be a life coach. I actually had to do a bit of research. I studied my personality traits. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the things that I do that I feel most alive? And this is when I'm talking to someone, when somebody's talking to me, and I realized I should take that direction because when I was young, I noticed that there were times when I needed someone to speak to, right? Someone that didn't necessarily have to be my friend or my parents, but I didn't have access to that kind of person. So I thought I could be that person for especially a lot of young women. So that's the long and short of it, of why I decided to be a professional life coach.
So you have realized a need there in the society, and you decided to fill that gap of what you noticed there's a gap here.
Yes, absolutely. There is a need, and I decided I'm going to meet that need. I'm going to be who I needed when I was younger, or when I'm going through stuff, so that somebody else can have somebody to speak to.
That's because sometimes we notice that people see there's a need of this and that in this country, but still you are seated and laid back. Sometimes the reason for God made you to realize that there's a need there, it's for you to do something about that need.
Yes, yes. They say you're the answer to your prayers. So instead of waiting on somebody else to do it, you can just do it.
Exactly. You have helped so many young people so far to get back their life on track. I remember reading someone's comment on your post when everybody was congratulating you, and then she said, I can't wait to mess up again so I come back to you to put my life back on track. What are the most issues when you have concluded? What is that thing that most of the young people are struggling with?
The main thing is relationships. Be it romantic relationships or generally just relationships with other people, and also relationships between children and their parents. So most of my clients have got these problems of just not knowing how to manage their relationships with their parents or with in their romantic relationships. The other thing that has really come up a lot is self-esteem. And most of my clients are young women between the ages of 20 to 35, going on 40. And the biggest problem I would say I've picked up is self-esteem, self-confidence, which has a way of affecting all other areas of your life as well. Whether it's the kind of people you get into relationships with, whether it's the kind of work you do, how you relate to your colleagues, it's all coming from a place of lack of self-esteem and lack of self-love and lack of self-awareness. Those are the issues that I face the most, yeah.
The reason they have problem with relationships is most of what people are dealing with. What is that thing that is lacking in relationships? Or do you think it's lack of self-awareness that is leading to the problem that we have?
That's exactly what it is, a lack of self-awareness. I'm always surprised whenever I sit and I have a conversation with someone, I usually ask them whether they've ever had a personality assessment done on them. What is your personality type? What are your weaknesses? And what is it that demolishes you or destroys you? What brings you peace? All of this stuff. Because when you have a better understanding of that, then you're in a better position to also understand other people, okay? And when you understand other people, you're in a better position to manage your relationships from your own standpoint, instead of allowing other people to manage your relationship with them. Because when you're in control of yourself, when you know yourself, you know your fears, you know your desires, you know your weaknesses, most importantly, you're empowered, and you can handle situations better. So absolutely every problem that most people have, it is all coming from within, as opposed to what other people are putting on your table.
When you asked about a personality test or personality assessment, do you think that most of our Namibian people, or even Namibian young girls, do you think they are aware that they have a personality assessment that you can take?
That you can take.
And if they are not aware, where can one get access to take one personality assessment?
To answer your question, no, I don't think most people are aware. I wasn't aware until I reached a certain age, for example, and I know a lot of people, even if they are aware, they don't take the time to study their personality traits. And there's a lot of tests and assessments that you can find on the internet. But also when I would meet with my psychologist, they also gave me a personality assessment. And this is also something that I give to my clients, because you get shorter personality assessments and then you get comprehensive assessments that tell you what type of quadrant you fall into with regards to whether you are an introvert, an extrovert, and what exactly those two mean. So there's a lot of resources available everywhere. I'm sure if you called a psychologist or a life coach, they could help you with a personality assessment.
You are a life coach and you coach a lot of young girls.
Yep.
And you just mentioned that when you meet with your psychologist, you have a psychologist too.
Yes, of course, definitely. Everyone needs help, okay? And being a life coach does not mean I know how to do life on my own. Human beings are social by nature. We need one another, and life coaches have life coaches just the same way as pastors have pastors, and because everybody needs guidance. Everybody needs guidance, and when I'm feeling off balance in my life or I need to speak to someone, then I also have someone to speak to, because it doesn't mean that just because I help people, I don't need help myself. So.
That's why we keep telling people that no one has it on track.
Yeah.
We are all alive in process, in progress, and we need help here and there. And the moment you act like, I know it all, I'm a life coach, I've got everything figured it out, and then at the end of the day, we are depleting ourselves, our values, because we need to be edified here and there, and we need one another.
You need to be fit spiritually, mentally, all of that
every
stuff.
now and then. Do you have an age group of where you or normally focus on, like I only deal with from the age of 16 to 20, or it's across all age groups?
I'm very well capable of helping people from all age groups, because there is not a lot that divides us as human beings. We are all very, very similar. If you're struggling with self-esteem as a 16-year-old, a 45-year-old man can also struggle from self-esteem, and the tools are all the same. But mostly, my brand appeals to young women between the ages of 20 to 35. Those are usually the group that is drawn to me because they can relate to me. I also have clients that are males, but generally most people that can relate with me are people more or less in my age group, and those are the people that I work the most with. But also just women. Women are like, they are the shoulders that carry our society. So if all women are doing well, I mean, their children are doing well, their sisters are doing well, and so are their spouses and partners and stuff. Yeah.
And I realized that from the age of 20 to the age of 35, that's where midlife crisis really hit hard.
Oh, it hits you.
And if we are not careful, we can lose ourselves.
Definitely.
Between the age of 20 and 35, between the age of 20 to 30, we're still figuring out who exactly we are. And then we get into 30, and then people tell you, welcome to dating 30.
Dating 30.
What is even that?
Exactly.
You don't even know until you get there.
But there's also a lot of pressure for that age group. There's a lot of pressure of what is expected of you as a young person. In that age group, you're expected to have your career sorted out. Yes. By the time you're 25, 27, you're expected to have at least a stable partner that you're going to marry. By the time you're 30, there's just so much pressure and so much expectations. And it's also the age group where you're figuring out who are the right friends, who are your real friends, who are the people that you need to cut out. Some people are also parents in that age group as well. So it's a lot. It's a lot to deal with. Yeah.
a lot happens there. Between
lot happens.
20 and 35, a lot happens. Your
Goodness
friends are
gracious.
getting kids, you don't have one. Your friends are getting married, and then your parents even start asking, you're just attending your friends' weddings, when is yours coming?
People are graduating, people are in committed relationships. Here you're also being scroofed by guys. It's a lot in that age group. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that happen in that age group, and people really, really need a safe place where they can just sort of speak to someone and feel better about their lives and not necessarily have the pressure of having to have their life figured out. Yeah. Yeah.
In Namibia, psychologist and life coaching is not that really recognized, because in African culture, if not only in Namibia, people would think, or they don't even advise someone to talk to a psychologist, because at the end of the day, they will be like, why are you exposing yourself?
Yes.
Why are you exposing your family? Are people really forthcoming with their problems?
We're coming from a background of you don't air your dirty laundry.
Exactly.
But we are also coming from a culture that perceives you weak when you seek outside help. And that is what we're dealing with. So most people are not really open to speaking to someone. They're not open to seeking outside help. But again, it's one of those things that you just cannot do without. Most people, in fact, think they're fine, right? Until they sit with someone and they realize, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was a coping mechanism that I developed as a result of being abused as a child, for example. Oh, I didn't know that this is why I've got anger issues. It's because I never forgave myself for this and that. Because you need an insight on all of that stuff. Why do you do what you do? Why do you react the way that you react? Why do certain people hurt your feelings the way they hurt your feelings? And you cannot know this until you speak to somebody that has sort of studied these things. Just because there is the same way there is expertise in every area of life, you get experts in finances. You don't manage finances without a financial advisor. It's the same way for all other areas of your life as well. But you're right, our culture does not support this kind of seeking help outside. Yeah.
You have spoken about coping mechanism. Coping mechanism, is it universal to everyone, or it depends to your personality types? And does it mean that if you don't know your personality type, then that means you won't copy someone's coping mechanism?
Oh, we are human beings are monkey see, monkey do. Sometimes we copy the traits of people that we admire. Sometimes we pick up traits from people that brought us up.
Yes.
So we learn how to pick up things on how maybe our parents used to function. For example, some people grow up in homes where there was constant shouting.
Yeah.
People don't speak gently to each other. It's like, pick up the plate or whatever when somebody's not even angry. And then you grow up and this is how you speak to people even at work, and people are like, excuse you, don't shout at me, right? But we don't know when we pick up coping mechanisms, but they also usually occur when we suffer traumatic experience. Did you lose a loved one? Did you experience an abortion or a miscarriage? And then you learn to do things that seem to protect you. You develop either a forgetful memory because growing up you had to forget certain things at home so that you can cope in the real world. So then you grow up and you've got a memory problem. You just don't remember a lot of things. Some people develop a meanness because growing up you realize that people who were strict and mean were not disrespected. So now you got into the world and you are just tough and angry and mean so that people can respect you. So we develop coping mechanisms out of a lot of situations, but especially when we suffer a traumatic experience.
sometimes those coping mechanisms, we develop them to protect ourselves from
Always.
what we have experienced before, and you're like, I'm not going to allow that
I'm not
anymore.
gonna allow that
And then all
anymore.
of a sudden, you are now very angry, very defensive, just to
Very
protect.
some people are very, very defensive because they grew up being picked on. It was always your fault at home when something went wrong. So you just become overly defensive in any situation. Some people sulk. You know when somebody does something wrong to you, but you don't have the ability to speak and say, but you know when you did this, it really hurt my feelings, because you feel vulnerable when you talk about your feelings.
Yeah.
So you would rather just contort your face in all different shapes so that eventually they figure out what's wrong with you and then they apologize. But that rarely happens. You have to speak when somebody hurts your feelings.
We have a lot of young Namibian people that are falling into depression. Unfortunately, some even end up into committing suicide. I think we had a recent case of a young girl who committed suicide in Walvis Bay. And it's so sad that our young people are losing their lives into suicide or to suicide. What are your advices, or have you ever helped someone who was battling depression?
I certainly have. The thing with depression is we have to understand that it's like a mental disease, right? Sometimes people don't know they're depressed when they are depressed. So usually my advice is usually for you that's watching this or listening, you have to know what are the symptoms of depression so that you can pick up on people around you, so that you know to refer them to speak to someone. Because I can know the symptoms of depression, I'm very well aware of it, but when I get depressed, for example, I don't recognize it, and therefore I don't seek help. Most of my clients that are depressed have mostly been referred to me by someone else, as opposed to, oh, hi, I feel depressed and I want to speak to someone, because depression also shows up in different phases. So my advice is mostly to guardians, if you're an older sibling, if you're a partner, take care of the people around you. Watch out for signs of depression. Are they having an excessive appetite? Are they losing appetite? Are they sleeping a lot? Are they, what is happening? Know this pattern so that when you see somebody that might be going through something, you know to refer them to someone for help. And depression doesn't just end at talking to someone. Some people take medication for it because, like I said, it's a mental disease. It's not just, oh, I feel down today, I must be depressed. It's a constant thing that also leads to being suicidal. And the sad part is it's not just young people that suffer from depression, it's especially older people, men and women between the ages of 35 going on 50. That middle age, people are just going through the most, and because they've never learned how to cope with when they're under stress, for example, they don't know that they're depressed, and it leads to not just suicide, but even an earlier death, because when you're mentally sick, your body also suffers. So people just get weird sicknesses. You've always got a stomach problem, you've always got headaches, you've always got back pain, and people don't know that these are signs of a mental mental place that's not well. Yeah.
As you said, that depression doesn't show up in colors. You don't, yeah, that's depression. There have to be some specific signs. And most of us might be even living with people that are depressed, but we do not know. Do you have at least maybe common signs that we can look for into people that we know that if this sign comes up often, then it might be a sign of depression? Just to share with our viewers that we know few signs of depression.
When somebody changes their behavior drastically, when somebody used to be very, very outgoing and all of a sudden they are very drawn back, so sudden change in behavior, loss of appetite, or somebody that starts eating a lot, just a spiked appetite, that's also a sign of depression. Sleeping a lot or not sleeping enough. What is the other thing that I was thinking of now? But it's usually just drastic changes in how people generally live their lives. Yeah.
We have so many Namibian girls that some of them are even in grade 12 and they are battling with what am I going to study after grade 12. And they know what is that thing that they want in their heart, where their passion lies. But yet we have our parents who are saying, with that you won't get a job. And then they have, or we only grow up knowing teachers, nurses, and doctors, lawyers.
Yes.
That's what we are being told. So what advice do you have for these young girls that want to really go pursue their career in what they love, but yet want to respect their parents' wishes?
Well, I think it's bigger than just what your heart wants and what your parents think is good for you. There's a lot of things for you as a young person to consider. You have to also look at the market trends.
Yeah.
In the country as it is. It doesn't help to be blind to what is happening in the country and what is mostly required by the economy. You have to look at trends. In the next 10 years, some professions will go completely obsolete and nobody will need them, right? So you also have to think of those things. So knowledge is empowerment. You have to do your research. First of all, what is the profession that is mostly required in the world at the moment? What is the profession that is likely to go out of fashion in the next 10 years? And also, understanding where you are at is helpful, right? It's like you're saying, parents mean well. I can understand when somebody has a passion to be a superstar, for example. You have to understand the economy of your country is such that because of the population of 2 million people, the market share that you have of that to blow up as a superstar and make a living of it is almost impossible. As opposed to when you live in a country with 45 million people, South Africa, where you can have a small market share of the population and make a living of painting for the rest of your life, for example. So if you've got 2 million people and you are a painter, you're speaking of a small percentage of people that will actually buy your art. Now you have to think of what type of life do you want? Do you want to live uptown? Do you want to live downtown? What type of things do you want to afford? If you're an artist, do you get medical aid because medical aid is a necessity? Will you be able to support your family? So it's bigger than just what do my parents want and what do I want. And the most important thing is to always combine the things that you want to do. I'm a big advocate of you don't have to choose one thing to do for the rest of your life. Especially when you're 16 years old. Again, when you're in grade 12, it's a lot of pressure. Some of your friends are planning to go study engineering, whatever. Some people are going to study in Europe, some are going to China to do medicine, some people are doing graphic design, some people are going to study music because they want to play a violin or something, and there's so much pressure and you don't know what to do. So you don't have to choose one thing that you will do for the rest of your life. You can study law and be a life coach and do arts and do whatever you want to do. The possibilities really are endless. So you don't have to feel the pressure of, if I go to school now and choose to do this one thing, this is what I'll do for the rest of your life. Yeah.
The importance of mental health, or our mental wellness, our mental well-being, depends on how our whole body function, or the positivity of our minds. And sometimes in the world we live, it's very hard to have a positive mind because we see that what is happening around us, it's normally just negative.
Yes.
And it's hard to go out there with a positive mindset while what you see, it's negativity. How do we keep up with our positive mindset to keep our well-being?
First of all, there's this analogy of a boat, right? A boat can only sink if the water gets into it. And you are the boat, right? You have to set a standard for yourself and determine the things that you will not allow into your psyche. You have to choose. I personally choose the kinds of pages I follow on Instagram. If I notice that I'm feeling demotivated by someone, for example, and this is something that I really have to share. If you keep scrolling and there's somebody's Instagram account that makes you feel envious, right? And envy is not a sickness. Anyone is subject to feeling envious, right? You can unfollow that account. If an account makes me feel like I'm doing less than what I'm supposed to be doing, I unfollow it. If an account makes me feel less as a human being, I unfollow that account. you have to choose what you allow into your brain. I don't watch negative news. I'm one of those people that really can do without, you know, the headlines of bad news that's happening all around the world. If there is a flood happening in Kinshasa, I don't know, if there is a wildfire in Australia, I can deal without it because I know that my mental place is more important, but I also know that I easily feel really bad when I'm exposed to bad news. I can easily get thrown off if I see somebody that's going through the most. So I try to avoid that stuff as much as possible. So we need to set boundaries for what we allow to get into our psyche, what we allow in our homes, in our bodies, because your mental health is so important.
Very much important.
It's so important. You have to protect it by all means. You know.
So, what are your last words to our viewers?
My last words is, whatever you set your mind to, you can do it. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. It really is all up to you. And things that are amazing are not reserved for certain kinds of people. You can do it. You can do whatever you want to do. You can live your best life. You deserve a lit life. You deserve the perfect partner. You deserve all the good things that life has to offer. And it's not reserved for special people. So that's my final words to the people.
Thank you so much, Suama. It was an honor to have you here. You shared so much important things with us today. There we have it, viewers. We learned a lot today. As she said, that amazing things are not just for some people. It's for all of us. We all deserve all the good things in life. Until we meet again, see you.